Hello everyone, my name is Zim Ahmadi, peminat muzik Tegar Budak Baru Belajar. Today we're going to review an EP by new band Toko Kilat. Toko Kilat is a cross-border supergroup consisting of Edwin Raj, who was originally from They Will Kill Us All, and then you also have Irfan on drums, who was originally from Bittersweet, ACAB, Relay, and another supergroup called The Vagabonds, which consists of people like Harry, who's also from Bittersweet, and Nosale from Hujan. And you also have Kyril and Wan, who comes from the Singaporean band Moods. Coming to you from the future with a few corrections about the Toko Kilat album that we're reviewing today. Firstly, I mentioned in the Toko Kilat review that Kyril was one of the guitarists in the band. However, I think Kyril left in the first few months of the recordings of the EP and was later replaced by Toya, who is a guitarist from another legendary indie band, Lila's Lounge. And basically, Kyril is still involved in the production, but he's still only involved in the recordings of the guitars, but the actual guitarist is Toya. One more thing I want to point out that the saxophonist in the Ratu Malam music video doesn't actually play the saxophone, he's just an actor. The actual saxophone sounds you hear comes from Kevin Chu, who is a saxophonist for Sheila Majid, and also the actual song Ratu Malam in the EP. Alright, back to the review. Toko Kilat brings a myriad of influences from these different musicians who all come from the same umbrella of alternative rock. So it's really interesting to see them come together. For example, you have Edwin Raj, who has known to call the music of They Will Kill Us All as noise pop. In an interview with magazine Hype, he once quoted The Cure and Cave In as a reference to what They Will Kill Us All sounds like. And then you also have Irfan, who's a part of Bittersweet. And Bittersweet is very famous for being a part of that post-punk revival Britpop re-invasion of the Malaysian scene back in 2009, especially in their first ever single, if I'm not mistaken, Capital E. And lately, they've also released a single, Hilang, which has a lot of Oasis influence to it. Then you have, the slightly more unique, the band Moods, right, from Singapore. And this band is a bit more on the indie jazz side. In fact, they've also taken to call themselves trip hop, a slightly psychedelic and trippy version of electronic hip hop. They released an album called Restless last year in 2018. You can find it on their Bandcamp page. The song Star is really cool. It's available for preview. That being said, Toko Kilat is not a Frankenstein of many different bands come together. They're not trying to take all of their original band sounds and make it a whole collage of mess, right? They have their own sound. They want to revert back to, the basics of alternative rock. That's why they call themselves pro rock, the basics involving things like driving riffs, tight drums, and more like action-packed kind of music, as opposed to, gimmicky reverbs and all those things. A lot of people have compared the Toko Kilat sound to Interpol. Although I would disagree because I don't think that they are as cavernous or echoey as Interpol is, and Paul Banks' vocals is drastically different from Edwin Raj. In fact, despite the fact that they might share some minimal riffs aspect to it, Paul Banks of Interpol has this teeny robotic baritone, while Edwin Raj has a more nuanced vocals to it that has bigger range, right? And if you want to compare any other vocalist, you can compare Edwin Raj to Kelly Jones of Stereophonics, famous for songs like Have a Nice Day and Dakota. Toko Kilat's EP also has a noir-filled kind of anthem and ambience to their music. It feels like there's a kind of seductive and classical quality to the songs, like there are bands playing at a lounge. It goes on for 24 minutes, it goes on through 6 tracks, and I think that's the right amount of time for you to enjoy their music. So now let's review the tracks one by one. So the album itself is not overproduced. I feel like it's produced really well in between that realm of loud and raw. It's impactful, it's your go-to alternative rock riffs, but it has some personality to it as well. It doesn't really get monotonous. I mean, over 6 tracks, I think it's the right amount of time in which Toko Kilat offers that. One of the best examples is actually the first track, Gema. So the Toko Kilat EP takes off with this anthemic track. And I love that static transmission introduction in the track itself, and the rage-filled lyrics where Edwin Raj sings "Semua yang kau impikan hanya tinggal impian" is very apocalyptic and very dramatic. And the riff is badass. It feels like a freaking machine. I also really appreciate how nuanced Edwin Raj's vocals is, especially regarding the part where he sings, "Kau terpedaya," with gusto and spirit, like "Kau terpedaya." I'm doing a really bad job at that, but it's really satisfying to hear him sing that and then transitioning towards the guitar solo. The next track was a single that was released called Pemacu Api, and it's another action-filled cut. The band has mentioned, I think Edwin Raj has mentioned, that the song is actually about an arsonist, and the lyrics don't really hide that. Pemacu Api is also, I think, the first track in the EP that has this whole noir illustration in its lyricism and instrumentation. I mean, it has this lyrics, Kelab malam ini dibintangi neon. I mean, how much noir can you get from that, right? With that whole, 80s Miami vibe kind of feel, band playing at a lounge that's filled with cigarette smoke, that kind of stuff. Although the song could literally be about an arsonist, I love that the song also alludes to the fire being a metaphor for desire instead. I really like the synth breaks during the last part of the song. However, I feel like in terms of the mixing, the synth break is a bit swallowed and contained. I thought if it was flashed out a bit more, it could have had more punch and more impact to really add some edge to the sound. But otherwise, Pemacu Api is not really a bad track, except for what potential they could have achieved. Then there's the song Nahas, which is not one of the most memorable cuts of the EP, instrumentation-wise, but, it has that kind of suave, seductive coolness to it, especially when the vocals go, hati ini kecewa, embodying this lonely crooner persona that I think is really, complementary to the song itself. And it was at this point that I realized that the Toko Kilat EP actually has a kind of narrative to it, like this noir narrative, or at least a noir scenery to it. That whole rainy day, black and white murder mystery, complete with slow dancing in a hazy lounge, that kind of deal when it comes to that noir sound. Ratu Malam seems to be the ultimate point of the story. The art of Toko Kilat is that they start you off this very, by the numbers, post-punk revival arrangement or, alternative rock kind of hooks. But then they draw you into a key change or a new guitar passage to really put you like on another level. Like this happens in the song Ratu Malam after, the lyrics go Kembali, and then you're like put in a different world. And this storytelling craft, I think, is what Toko Kilat is best at. They squeeze that into every single song, especially in Ratu Malam. The saxophones really complete the atmosphere when it comes to the femme fatale vibes and the seductress vibe, like where Edwin Raj sings about how you should be careful when it comes to listening to your heart's desire. The song Kabur has a very psychedelic vibe to it. It's combining all these subtle, flanging guitar effects with an indie pop veneer reminiscent of bands like Spiritualized. It's definitely different from the rest of the tracks in this EP. Like, it's wholesome and cozy. The overall narrative of this song is that after you've heard all of that noir haziness of the previous tracks, has the sun finally risen to disperse the haze, because it has a level of brightness to it. On the website, Toko Kilat it refers to the names of two men, JM Satasilan and Haji Hussein, probably late fathers to band members of Toko Kilat itself. And the lyrics reflect that, right? Hatiku parah akan ku terima, which, symbolizes that whole embracing grief and overcoming the odds and knowing that everything will be okay despite this great loss. It's a powerful song, and it's one of my favorite cuts in the EP. It's different, but it's not distracting, and it adds another level of emotion to the EP. Then the last track, Satu Suara, was good when it was released as a single. I mean, it's a rallying cry for unity despite our differences. It's got that stadium-pleasing, crowd-roaring anthem feel to it. However, in the context of the EP itself, it feels slightly corny in comparison to the other lyrics or the other instrumentations that happened with the previous songs. It's not a bad song. I'm pretty sure it'll go really well in live concerts. Just not my favorite cut in the context of whatever that's been going on in the EP. So what's my overall verdict of Toko Kilat's EP? Overall, the Toko Kilat EP is solid. I mean, a lot of these alternative rock bands, when they want to bring back the realness of the alternative rock sound, sometimes they can be overly produced or very middle of the road, like very classic template, arrangements. But I feel that there is a good sense of build and suspense in Toko Kilat's, musicianship and arrangement that keeps you hooked and excited. The fact that, you know, they serve that pro rock name well by accentuating the guitar bass drum dynamic to the fullest without that much of a gimmick that slaps you in the face, just with, you know, raw rock sounds. However, there are some flaws in this album. Like, for example, the noir narrative that I really appreciate from this track gets a bit cut off because of the fact that it ends with Satu Suara, which is very corny to me personally. I thought it should have ended with a more optimistic and cleaner conclusion with the song Kabur, because that would have really summarized the atmosphere of the EP itself. There are some gaps in the production and arrangements that could have really, you know, been pushed that, you know, makes the band more unique in their personality. Like, for example, the synth breaks at the end of Pemacu Api could have really been more impactful. That being said, as an EP, Toko Kilat's first introductory album is a really good introduction to the band's raw sound. They are, you know, headbang worthy, they're exciting enough, they're not monotonous, they have that right amount of grit that keeps you at the edge of your seat, and that's why I'm giving the EP a 3.8 out of 5. So did you like Toko Kilat's latest EP? If you disagree with anything that I say, you can just hit up in the comment section below, or on our social media, ATRMag42 on Twitter and Facebook, or on Instagram, Awful Track Record. Nada here will also let you to know that if you like our content, you can click like and subscribe. If you have any album recommendations, also do hit us up. We don't care about, you know, genre, space, language, or time. Any album that seems interesting to us, we'll review them. My name is Zim Ahmadi, peminat muzik tegar baru belajar. My name is Zim Ahmadi, peminat muzik tegar baru belajar. That's a mouthful. My name is Zim Ahmadi, peminat muzik tegar baru. My name is Zim Ahmadi, peminat muzik tegar baru belajar. See you next episode.